The most dangerous cage in the world isn't made of steel bars. It's forged from two simple, silent words: just enough. Look around you. In the quiet, unseen chambers of our society, there is a deep existential poverty that has nothing to do with bank accounts and everything to do with potential. It is the poverty of the average mind, the tragic, slow, suffocating death of a dream deferred. And here is the harsh, unromanticized truth you must face right now, before the clock strikes midnight on your potential. Average will always be poor, not just financially poor, though that is a certainty, a gravitational law of the universe, but poor in spirit, poor in experience, poor in contribution. Average is a philosophical famine, a willing surrender to the tide of mediocrity. It is the silent killer of genius. You see it everywhere. The person who says, "I just want a comfortable life," the one who trades the raw, terrifying possibility of fortune and fulfillment for the dull, predictable security of a paycheck that only guarantees one thing: you'll need another one next month. They are paid just enough to keep showing up, and they work just enough not to get fired. This is the central fraud of the modern age. We've been sold a lie that average is a virtue, a safe harbor. But in a world accelerating at the speed of light, average is not a floor. It's a quickly collapsing ceiling. It is a one-way ticket to oblivion. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is often measured in millimeters. The tiny, painful daily decision to step 1 degree beyond the expected, 1 degree past the familiar pull of the crowd. The great minds understood this. They weren't born under a different star. They simply refused to accept the consensus reality. Think of Thomas Edison. He didn't just invent the light bulb. He had to invent the entire industry that powers it. He was told thousands of times that his experiments were failures, that his methods were chaotic. But Edison didn't fail 10,000 times. He found 10,000 ways that didn't work. His mind was not wired for the common, easily discouraged response. He possessed what Napoleon Hill called a definiteness of purpose, a burning, singular vision so intense it incinerated all contradictory evidence. That intensity, that refusal to settle for a flawed prototype or a temporary setback, is the very furnace that separates the wealthy from the wanting. The first step in breaking free from this prison of just enough is the radical, terrifying, and absolutely essential act of mental transmutation. You must recognize that your current results, the state of your bank account, the quality of your relationships, the health of your body, are merely the physical manifestation of your dominant thoughts. If you consistently think in terms of limits, scarcity, and what if I fail, your life will serve up the exact measurable evidence to support that belief. The average mind is a magnet for average circumstances. It is constantly broadcasting a signal of compromise, and the universe, that impersonal, efficient delivery system, responds accordingly. To escape this trap, you must perform an overhaul of the factory inside your skull. You must take the white-hot raw material of desire, that restless, inarticulate yearning you feel in your deepest quiet moments, and forge it into something solid, something immutable. This is not about positive thinking. It is about absolute belief. It starts with a simple, profound truth. You are not who you think you are. You are what you think you are. The average person allows their thoughts to be polluted by the fear and doubt of others, the naysayers, the comfortable, the critics who haven't built anything but a reputation for tearing things down. They let the noise of the world become their internal monologue. But the extraordinary mind, the one destined for fortune, whether of wealth or impact, stands guard at the gate of its own consciousness. It practices an aggressive, almost violent form of mental hygiene, allowing no negative, limiting, or discouraging thought to pass without challenge. This is the bedrock of self-confidence. It is the unshakable conviction that the only true limitation is the one you consent to in your own mind. You cannot build an empire on a shaky foundation of doubt. The universe doesn't negotiate with hesitation. It only rewards the certainty of action. And that certainty is born not in a moment of external validation, but in the private, silent, daily affirmation that you are worthy of your grandest vision. You must write the check in your own mind before the world can cash it. This process of transmutation requires a deliberate, almost obsessive focus on the imagination. The average mind uses imagination for worry, replaying past mistakes or rehearsing future calamities. The mind destined for greatness uses it as a blueprint, a cosmic workshop where the unmanifested is given form. This is where the concept of burning desire becomes more than just a phrase. It becomes a spiritual force. Desire, in the context of fortune, is not a wish or a hope. It is an absolute necessity. It must be an ache, a hunger so powerful it makes sleep a distraction and comfort an insult. It's the kind of desire that drove Abraham Lincoln through repeated political losses, personal tragedy, and overwhelming public rejection. He didn't merely wish to preserve the Union. His purpose was a life or death mandate. He didn't just hope for leadership. He became the relentless embodiment of a cause greater than himself. His victories were not sudden flashes of luck. They were the inevitable culmination of a desire that simply refused to be extinguished. If your desire is tepid, if you're willing to accept $10,000 when you know you can earn $100,000, or a good relationship when you deserve an epic one, you are signaling to the subconscious that your dream is negotiable, and anything negotiable is expendable. The true moment of awakening is when you stop seeing your desire as a possibility and start viewing it as a debt you owe to yourself, to your talents, and to the world that needs the specific genius only you possess. You must internalize the fact that withholding your greatest self is an act of selfishness, a betrayal of your inherent design. This is the fundamental shift from an employee mindset to an owner mindset. The average person asks, "What is the minimum I must do to receive my payment?" The owner asks, "What is the maximum I can create, contribute, and perfect?" The former is trapped in the finite game of trading time for dollars. The latter is engaged in the infinite game of creating value, where time is merely the medium through which their purpose is expressed. To break free, you must articulate your desire with merciless clarity. This is the second pillar of extraordinary achievement, the master plan and definitive goal. It is not enough to say, "I want to be rich." That is the language of fantasy. It is the vague, fluttering wish of the average. Fortune, by its nature, resists the vague. It demands specificity. You must be able to write down on paper with terrifying precision the exact amount of money you intend to acquire, the exact date by which you intend to acquire it, what you intend to give in return, the service, the product, the value, and the precise plan by which you intend to proceed right now, today. This plan must be so clear that if you were to hand it to a stranger, they would understand the blueprint of your future. This is the difference between a dream and a goal. A dream is a whisper in the night. A goal is a detailed, architecturally sound blueprint for a skyscraper. It must be revisited daily, internalized until it becomes the very fiber of your operating system. And here is the secret most people miss. The plan is secondary to the action of planning itself. The act of mapping out the course forces your mind, your subconscious, your greatest ally, to stop meandering and to start problem solving. It shifts your state from passive wishfulness to active, decisive command. When the plan is written, when the purpose is definitive, you are no longer adrift. You have cast off the mooring lines of average. You are now captain of a specific vessel, charting a course toward a fixed star. Every decision, every resource, every minute of your day now has a singular metric. Does this move me closer to my definitive chief aim? If the answer is no, it is a distraction, an inefficiency, and a subtle sabotage of your future self. It must be cut, mercilessly. The average life is characterized by permission, waiting for the perfect time, the perfect funding, the perfect mentor, or the perfect signal from the universe. They wait for a cosmic go button. The extraordinary life is characterized by execution. The masters of destiny, the giants of industry, from Henry Ford, who dared to put the world on wheels when horses were the norm, to Walt Disney, who risked everything he owned on a talking mouse, they did not wait for approval. They understood that action is not the result of inspiration, but often the cause of it. You can spend a lifetime assembling a perfect plan, but if you lack the courage to execute, the plan is merely elegant fiction. Imperfect action always dominates perfect inaction. This is where the discipline of applied faith comes into play. Faith is not a spiritual retreat. It is an aggressive, forward-moving force. It is the confident expectation that your plan will work, backed by the continuous, persistent expenditure of effort. It is the belief that transcends the evidence of your immediate circumstances. The moment you commit to a major goal, the universe will immediately test your resolve. Doubt will surface. Obstacles will appear. These are not signs that you are on the wrong path. They are simply the gatekeepers, the toll collectors demanding payment for your passage to the next level. The average person turns back at the first sign of friction. The exceptional individual sees friction as a necessary heating process, the only thing that can temper soft iron into hardened steel. Consider the immense pressure and repeated setbacks faced by the pioneers of great enterprise. When Andrew Carnegie began building his steel empire, the industrial landscape was fraught with volatility, competition, and economic downturns. His success wasn't due to a lack of problems. It was due to a colossal, organized mental power that saw temporary defeats as nothing more than necessary data points. He had an unyielding faith in the future of steel and his ability to organize men and resources to dominate that future. He mastered the principle of organized knowledge and used it not to avoid problems, but to crush them systematically. To cultivate this action-oriented faith, you must develop an almost surgical discipline in your daily habits. Your habits are the hinges of your destiny. The average life is built on a foundation of scattered energy and minor compromises, hitting the snooze button, mindlessly scrolling, postponing the difficult conversation. These tiny daily surrenders create a cumulative momentum that drags one back toward the norm. The successful individual understands that true freedom is the freedom of focus. They ruthlessly eliminate waste. They recognize that every minute spent consuming things that do not contribute to their chief aim is a minute stolen from their future fortune. This is the power of controlled attention. It means training your mind to hold one single objective, your definitive chief aim, steadfastly in its focus, to the exclusion of all else until that objective is manifest. This is not easy. It requires a constant, vigilant effort against the natural tendency toward distraction and mental entropy. But it is the price of admission to the extraordinary life. We now arrive at one of the most misunderstood and powerful principles, the power of the master mind. The average person surrounds themselves with other average people. They seek comfort and validation, not challenge and growth. They join groups that confirm their existing limits, creating an echo chamber of mediocrity. The extraordinary person understands that all great fortunes, all monumental achievements, are created through the synchronized effort of two or more minds working in perfect harmony toward a definite goal. A mastermind alliance is not just a group of friends. It is a strategic, intellectual partnership built on mutual respect and shared purpose. This alliance creates a third mind, an invisible spiritual entity that is greater than the sum of its parts. It is the creative friction, the blending of specialized knowledge, the spiritual and mental energy of the collective that generates solutions and ideas that none of the individuals could produce alone. Think of the symbiotic brilliance of the greatest collaborations. Ford needed his engineers and his production geniuses. Disney needed his animators and storytellers. Carnegie needed his partners, men he hired and inspired to push the boundaries of efficiency and scale. These titans knew their limitations, and rather than pretending to be experts in all fields, they surrounded themselves with specialized minds whose skills completed their own. They didn't hire people to agree with them. They hired people to elevate them. If your current inner circle doesn't inspire you, challenge you, or possess skills you desperately need to achieve your goal, it is time for a drastic, painful, but necessary evaluation. You must align yourself with those who think on a grander scale, whose ambition makes your own feel small, and whose standards of execution demand excellence. The purpose of a mastermind is twofold. First, to provide the organized, specialized knowledge necessary for the execution of your plan. And second, to serve as a mental force field, using the combined power of positive suggestion to keep every member's desire burning and faith unwavering. This alliance must be treated with the solemnity of a sacred vow, a pact of mutual assent. Now, as you begin to organize your mind and your circle, you will inevitably encounter the final necessary hurdle, failure. The average person views failure as a period at the end of a sentence. It confirms their worst fears, validates their doubt, and signals that they should retreat back to the safety of the norm. The exceptional person views failure as a comma. It is a pause, a necessary redirect, a painful but essential tuition payment for the education that leads to success. Every single figure of true achievement, from Lincoln losing multiple elections and facing personal bankruptcy to Babe Ruth striking out over 1,300 times, understood that temporary defeat is not a sign of worthlessness, but a sign that the strategy was incomplete or the specialized knowledge was insufficient. Failure, correctly interpreted, is the universe giving you a diagnostic report. It tells you exactly where your plan is flawed, where your knowledge is weak, and where your persistence needs hardening. The one who has never failed is the one who has never truly attempted anything worthy of their potential. They have traded the possibility of great victory for the certainty of smallness. The principle is simple. Success often hides one step beyond what appears to be the last possible point of persistence. You must cultivate the habit of persistence. It is the motor force of faith, the application of sheer willpower, the refusal to take no for a final answer. Persistence is not glamorous. It is the quiet, daily grind of showing up when you're tired, discouraged, and facing a mountain of evidence that suggests you should quit. This persistence must be fueled by a constant practice of self-discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. It is the ultimate act of self-care. It is choosing what you want most over what you want right now. It is the intentional organization of your own energy, physical, mental, and spiritual, to serve your highest aim. Discipline in a creative life means saying no to 1,000 good ideas so you can say an absolute yes to the single best one. It is the concentration of your mental energy into a single stream, focused on your goal, until the dam of resistance breaks. And for this entire engine of ambition to run cleanly, you must pay attention to the emotional and spiritual fuel, the principle of gratitude. Gratitude is not just a pleasant sentiment. It is a profound principle of attraction. The average mind focuses on what is missing, what is lacking, what hasn't worked, and what is unfair. This negative vibration broadcasts a frequency of scarcity, and it repels the very opportunities and resources necessary for success. The extraordinary mind practices gratitude for what already exists, for the setbacks that taught them a critical lesson, and for the simple capacity to try again. By focusing on the abundance that is already present, the health, the talent, the relationships, the momentum already gained, you shift your vibration to a frequency of wealth and possibility. Gratitude is the emotional catalyst that turns what you have into what you need. It is the great spiritual multiplier. It ensures that your ambition is not rooted in a place of desperate need or fear-based lack, but in a position of strength and appreciation. This is the difference between chasing success and attracting it. When you feel genuinely grateful, you are broadcasting a powerful signal of confidence that magnetizes resources and opportunities directly into your path. This leads us to the critical and often overlooked component in Hill's philosophy, the sixth sense, intuition and inspiration. The accumulation of all the other principles, the burning desire, the definiteness of purpose, the persistence, the master mind, the controlled attention, all work together to open a channel to a higher form of intelligence. This is where the world's truly original ideas come from. The sixth sense is not magic. It is the subconscious mind, refined and stimulated by organized effort and faith, suddenly connecting to the infinite intelligence, drawing forth fully formed ideas and insights that seem to come from nowhere. The average person relies solely on their five senses, what they can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. They react to external stimuli. The master, having disciplined their conscious mind, is able to receive internal guidance, a sudden clear knowing, a flash of insight that solves a complex problem in an instant. It was this type of flash that allowed the great innovators to see solutions before they were visible to anyone else. It is the intuitive leap that separates the merely efficient executor from the true visionary. It is the silent internal guidance that tells you when to pivot, who to trust, and where the next monumental opportunity lies. To cultivate this, you must learn the art of silence and reflection. In a world defined by noise and constant input, the greatest competitive advantage is the ability to quiet the mind and listen for the signal. The average person fears the silence because it forces them to confront their own thoughts. The master craves it, knowing it is the birthplace of genius. You must build daily rituals that allow your creative mind to breathe, time away from the screens, time in nature, time spent writing and thinking without agenda. This is not laziness. It is the deliberate cultivation of the soil from which fortune springs. And so we arrive at the final climatic realization. The price of average is exponentially higher than the price of extraordinary. The cost of being average is a lifetime of regret, a constant background hum of unfulfilled potential, the gnawing pain of knowing you settled for less than your birthright. It is the high cost of perpetual scarcity, the scarcity of money, time, love, and joy. The price of extraordinary, though steep, is a fixed, manageable fee, a definite plan, immediate action, and unwavering persistence. You must break the chains of the past right now. The past is nothing more than a narrative you keep telling yourself. Your current reality is just the cumulative result of decisions made by a person who was less informed, less disciplined, and less ambitious than the person you are becoming today. You are not bound by yesterday's failures. You are not defined by the limitations others placed upon you. The only thing that truly matters is the decision you make in this moment. Do you consent to the poverty of the average mind? Do you accept the lie of just enough? Or do you recognize that the desire burning within you is not a random accident, but a coded message from your higher self demanding expression? The difference between the mediocre existence and the magnificent one is not luck. It is decision, backed by faith, fueled by persistence. The blueprints are drawn. The mastermind awaits your call. The knowledge is available. The only question is, when do you start the construction? Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the cosmic sign. You are the sign. You are the power. You are the definitive chief aim. Take a deep breath, write down your purpose with the clarity of a mountain peak, and take the single, terrifying, necessary step forward. The world is waiting for your genius. Do not keep it waiting any longer. Break free. The cost of staying where you are is too high. Your fortune, your legacy, your truest self, they are all on the other side of average. Go and claim them.